Think of something built from parts you understand completely. Each piece is small and plain, following a few simple habits, nothing hidden and nothing strange. On its own, any one of them does something you could describe in a sentence. And yet gather enough of them together, let them carry on side by side, and the whole begins to do something none of them is doing. A shape, a motion, an order that no single piece holds and no one among them arranged. You can know every part by heart and still not find in any of them the thing they make together. So you look for what must be behind it. Something this involved, you assume, was put there on purpose. Perhaps there is a plan somewhere, a blueprint the parts are quietly following. Perhaps one of them is in charge, a leader the rest fall in behind, or a controller off to the side directing the whole. Or perhaps the parts are not as plain as they look, and the real work hides inside complicated pieces you have not noticed. Each guess says the same comfortable thing. A complicated result must come from a complicated cause, from a designer, a director, or intricate parts. The order in front of you must have been placed there by something that already held it. Look closely at the parts themselves, pick any one, and watch what it does. It follows a few fixed habits, minding only the handful of neighbors pressed against it. There is no plan written inside it, no map of the whole, no place where the finished order is kept. The next one is the same plain thing, and the next. No leader stands among them, and nothing directs them from outside. Whatever makes the whole behave is not hidden in any single part. So build the picture. Lay out many of these parts, each identical, each following the same few simple rules. Give every part only a local view, reacting to the few neighbors touching it, and nothing further off. Then let them all run at once, each reacting to its neighbors while they react back. That web of small local back and forth is the only machinery there is. To track it, watch one reading at the side, a plain measure of how much order has formed across the whole. Begin small, so the plainness is obvious. Take a single part and let it run. It does its one simple thing, over and over, and nothing about it surprises you. Add a few more beside it. They nudge their neighbors, settle, and fall quiet. With only a handful in play, the whole is as simple as the parts, and the reading of order barely lifts. There is nothing here a careful look could not have told you in advance. Now raise the number. Keep the rules exactly as they were, change nothing about any single part, and add many more of them. As the count climbs, something shifts. Small patches begin to agree, a cluster of neighbors falling into step, then a larger one beside it, each still minding only the few around it. No patch was planned, and none was told to form. They appear wherever enough neighbors line up. The parts are the same as before, only far more of them. And here is the quiet engine of it. When you add parts, you do not only add parts, you add connections. Each new one touches several neighbors, and each of those touches several more, so the interactions climb far faster than the pieces. Double the parts and the connections more than double. The reading of order, barely stirring before, now begins to rise. Nothing reached in and turned it up. It rose because the same plain parts were woven together more tightly. Stay with that rising reading because it tells the whole story. Each part is still running the same simple rule it began with. Not one has grown sharper or learned anything or changed its habits, and yet the measure of order keeps climbing, higher than any single part could account for. The parts did not become complicated. The thing they formed together did. The growing order was never inside them. It was building in the connections between them, while each piece carried on as before. Let the keystone of it settle, and hold the whole picture in view. The parts are countless, each still plain, still minding only its neighbors, still running the rule it always ran, and across all of them at once, a single coherent behavior has formed, a pattern that holds together as though it were one thing. Look for where that pattern is kept, and you will not find it in any single part. Open any one, and there is only the same small rule, blind to the whole. No part performs the pattern, no part even knows it is there. It exists only in all of them together, made of local connections and nothing else. Nothing placed it there, no plan, no part in charge, nowhere written down before it formed. Hold it here and let it stay. the whole behaving as one while every part stays as simple as ever. The order is real, everywhere across them, and in none of them alone. To be sure where the order really lives, take it apart in the one way that matters. Keep every part exactly as it is, the same pieces and the same rules. Only cut the connections between them, so each runs alone, blind to the rest. Do that, and the whole pattern is simply gone, as though it had never formed, leaving a crowd of plain parts each doing its small thing in isolation. Let them touch again, and the pattern returns on its own. The order was never in the parts. It lived in the connections between them. Two things hold. Look as closely as you like. First, this does not depend on the one rule. Hand the parts a different simple habit, and order of some kind forms again from the same local connections. The rule changes the picture, not the fact that a whole appears. Second, you cannot read the whole off any single part. The whole is a fact about all of them at once. And search where you will, there is no controller anywhere, no central part conducting the rest. Run the same simple rules again, and the same kind of order forms again every time. It is lawful, not magic, and never random. Pull the whole picture together. Many simple parts, each minding only its neighbors. A web of local connections, thickening as their number grows. And across all of them, an order that no part holds and no part was told to make. You have been watching one thing all along, a behavior that belongs to all of them and to none alone, born from their connections rather than placed in their pieces. That appearing of a whole the parts do not contain, that order built only from local interaction, is what we will call emergence. The complexity was never inside the pieces, it lived in what they did together. Hold the two ways of seeing it side by side, fix your eye on a single part, and the world looks simple, a plain piece doing nothing you could not have guessed. Pull back and watch the whole, and something rich and coordinated is moving, an order with a life of its own. Both views are of the same system at the same moment, with nothing added but your point of view. The simplicity is true, and the complexity is true, and they do not contradict. The gap between the small plain part and the large ordered whole is the thing itself. Stay with what has happened here. By every appearance, something complex has been made, and the eye still wants to credit a plan behind it, a designer, or one part secretly carrying the rest. But look again at all that was ever present. Plain parts, a few fixed rules, and the connections between them, with nothing added and no one in charge. No rule changed. No part grew complicated. No plan was ever laid. The complexity was made by the parts working together and by nothing else at all. Each part stayed simple. The system did not. Carry this back to the puzzle you began with. A complicated result is not proof of a complicated cause. When a whole behaves in some rich, surprising way, the instinct is to hunt for an equally rich source, a designer, a master plan, an intricate part at the heart of it. But the source can be utterly plain, only many simple pieces and the connections between them. So the thing worth studying was never the parts alone, nor some hidden author behind them. It was the connections between them, where the order was quietly being made. And so the question worth carrying out of this is not how to command such a whole into being, which a picture like this can never promise. The question is simply which parts, which local rules, and which connections give rise to the order you see. Reading it this way buys real insight, and it does not buy control. Knowing that an order will form is not the same as being able to predict its every move, or steer it, or optimize it, and no part inside is trying to do any of those things. The whole is a behavior, not a machine assembled to a plan. It is lawful, but not foreseeable, made by the parts together, never designed from above. Let the whole picture stand together. The many plain parts, each minding only its neighbors. The few fixed rules, never changing. The web of local connections, thickening as the numbers grew. And the order that rose across all of them, held in no single piece, written in no plan, made only in the connections between them. There was never a designer here, and never a complicated part working in secret. What looked like something carefully built was always many simple pieces, touching. The parts were plain throughout. What they formed together was anything but. A handful of simple parts, following simple rules and touching their neighbors, can together do what no part among them could do alone. Once you have seen that, a sharper question waits behind it. We have watched that complexity arrive and seen that it lives in the connections rather than the parts. But we have not yet asked how a web of local actions builds a whole that none of them holds. That is the next thing to follow, and it carries a shape of its own.